radio program on a Monday. Nice to have you with us. 21st day of May, 2018. The crew is in the house. Your phone calls are next. 888 Mad Dog 6. You heard Marv a little while ago. NBA tonight, of course, you have a game 4, I should say, in Cleveland with the Celtics up 2-1. Let's hope it's something competitive. We did Golden State and Houston a few minutes ago. Let's do a couple of things here in a little potpourri action and give you a little sense of the weekend, and we'll get to a couple items here as we move it along. Here's number one, the Preakness. And I'll tell you right now, NBC couldn't wait to explain the idea that they will have a triple crown on the line as far as the Belmont. I mean, that horse, Justify, was not even past the finish line, and he barely got there before they put on the scroll the Belmont a triple crown on the line on June 9th, at whatever time it may be. They were so delighted, NBC, that, listen, they don't have the same lineup as they used to have. There's no other way around it. Their big deal is some football and the Olympics every few years. They have the golf, they're second to CBS. The hockey is pale comparison to ABC and ESPN with the NBA. They lost Wimbledon. They lost the U.S. Open to Fox in golf. I mean, they really, triple crown they have. So when they get an opportunity to promote a triple crown on the line, which doesn't happen very often, they're going to go crazy. Now, listen, they had an American Farah 3 years ago. So, I mean, that was a long gap of 37 years. There was a lot of anticipation. I don't know if they're going to get the same kind of anticipation this go around with Justify. Now, as far as the actual race is concerned, I had said, along with Nick Zito and others, and we love Nick, and we'll get Nick on before the Belmont. I had said a long time ago that, or 2 weeks ago, that after that horse was so oppressive and so raring to go and, basically barely broke a sweat in Churchill Downs, that this horse was a huge horse. And boy, oh boy, this is going to be awfully tough to beat. I don't see how anybody's going to do it. I don't say that now. As Randy Moss said the other day, this horse limped to the finish line. I mean, the speed lines, the buyer index, if you care about that kind of stuff, were not impressive. The field was not impressive. The Dwayne Lucas horse almost caught him at the end, number 8. This was a real struggle for Justify to win the Preakness. Yes, the track was a mess. It's amazing. The Larry Thomas, the play-by-play guy, picked up the broadcast. Very hard to see. I'm sure he had monitors. He had to do that in the back stretch there. But this horse, another 100 feet, this horse would have lost. To make a long story short, and this is not exactly, a huge field that he was going up against. The Magic horse from the Derby went toe-to-toe with him early, and then obviously he held on there. Magic fell off, finished 4th, and then obviously he held off the 10 horse down the stretch and won, barely won. I'll tell you, I was not impressed with this horse, and when this horse finished this race, he looked like a tired horse to me. Justify. He looked like a horse who's going to get beat by somebody here late, and I was very, very concerned on whether this horse could go out there and finish the deal in a triple crown. Now, I did not feel that way once this horse won, of course, in Louisville. I thought, boy, oh boy, it's going to take a miracle to beat him. But after the other day, I was very concerned on whether I thought this horse had the stuffings to win. 5 races in 91 days. You're talking about a horse that looked a little tired. A good Magic, again, ran right with him, toe-to-toe. I did not see a super horse here on Saturday. And, 3 weeks, 5 races, that's a lot of races. I know that, Baffert is a historian, unless this horse is, not 100% physically. He is still going to run him even if he is tired, and he was very tired here down the stretch the other day. Very, very tired. I would be concerned by him here as far as Bravazzo did a very good job. Again, another 5 feet he would have won. This horse to me was, I don't know, he looked shot. I have to be honest. He looked shot. A lot of people said that in the broadcast booth. The people who wanted to analyze the race brought up the idea that, my goodness, he did not look great. The people who wanted to promote the Belmont did not. The people who wanted to promote the Belmont And I love Tirico, but he went a little too overboard with this, tremendous gutty effort. Mike, come on. This horse barely hung on. And again, this is not, the time was incredibly slow. I don't know enough about how they do it with the speed figures, but his speed figure was 97. American Farrer's speed figure for the Preakness was 102. I mean, I did not see a big horse there. I saw a horse who's going to have a lot of trouble against fresh horses. They're a mile and a half. Everybody out to get this horse. I think it's going to be a very tricky spot for him. I think the amazing thing is Audible. Now, here is a very interesting dilemma with Audible. Remember, the syndicate that owns Justify owns Audible. Everybody says that Audible is the second best horse and the horse that would be most dangerous for Justify in thwarting the Triple Crown at the Belmont. What are the owners? Now, the owners of the horse can say, fine, we're not going to challenge Justify. We're not going to run Audible in the race. They could do that to solidify their opportunity for a Triple Crown. But I'm telling you right now, if they bypass Audible if healthy, because they want to protect Justify, that's going to backfire on them. Because people are going to look at that Triple Crown with a bit of an asterisk. If they sit there and manipulate the field to protect Justify's chances to win a Triple Crown, they're going to look bad. If they have a horse that is capable of winning the Belmont and is healthy and raring to go, they owe it to the sporting world to have him race. If they don't, they're going to get killed by the media. They're going to get killed by me, I'll tell you that. And that's the problem when you talk about multiple trainers with multiple horses, or syndicates with multiple horses. They can manipulate when their horse runs, and if they got a couple of horses, it might benefit one if the other guy don't run, so they don't run them. I don't care what they do in these, at the Santa Fe Downs, or what they do in Saratoga. I don't care. Let them do what they want. Not enough people care. I do care what they do when there's a Triple Crown in history on the line. That's when I do care. I don't care what you do at the Wood Memorial. I don't care what you do at Aqueduct. I don't care what you do in Hialeah. I can give a crap. Do what you want. Or at the Arkansas Derby. Do what you want. Spread out the horses. But at the Triple Crown, you got a horse that's really good and raring to go, and you don't run him because you want to protect your other horses going for history. That's wrong. So that will be interesting to see how they handle that from that standpoint. I've been on record right now, and I don't know anything about the horse racing ownership business, but that would bother me. So that's the first thing that I wanted to get on the board here on this at the 5 o'clock hour. Second thing I wanted to talk about is that the NFL today had basically a 4-point bulletin put out regarding the gambling. And the fact they want the federal government to legislate it, and they want everything done up on the up and up, and they have the internet, they have all the content, blah, 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 and they want to protect the betting public. Hold on now. The NFL and Roger Goodell, and I didn't see the little expose they put out, but the NFL and Roger Goodell, they have lost a long time ago the argument that they are going to do what's good for the public in sports. They could give a crap about the public. Their owners charge PSL licenses to rent out the seats. They charge exhibition football games on your season ticket package. They schedule games in the middle of the wintertime at 9 o'clock at night in East Coast cities to help television. The NFL, and I'll read it to you. Here is the passage. A quote from Goodell today. It is a very strongly held view in the NFL. It has been for decades that the threat that gambling could occur in the NFL or fixing of games or that any other outcome could be influenced by the outside could be very damaging to the NFL and very difficult to ever recover from. Well, hold on now. Number one, you're going to Vegas with the Raiders. And number two, you put you let fantasy go crazy with the DraftKings fantasy. You have allowed this, the idea now that you are going to be the sheriff in town to protect the poor consumer from gambling influences is a bunch of nonsense. If you're so worried about protection, why the hell are the Raiders going to Vegas? The gambling capital of the world. Why the hell are they going there? I don't understand. You put out betting lines forever and ever and ever, with injury reports and everything else. The lines are out there constantly. And you allow and you make deals with DraftKings. and fantasy sports outfits, which is gambling, by the way. Gambling. Game of chance, not skill. Gambling. And anytime the NFL starts, I don't see the quote which says this, but anytime the NFL, here we go, law enforcement will have the resources, monitoring, and enforcement tools necessary to protect our fans and penalize bad actors here at home and abroad. Since when does the NFL give a garbage about its fan base? Are you kidding me? The NFL has lost the right years ago to sit there and talk about the idea that they are the great shield and the great protector of the American sports fan who basically takes out a second mortgage for the rights to go to any of your NFL games. And then they got to go, if you're in the Northeast, go sit in freezing stadiums in December at 9 o'clock so you get your little TV contracts organized. You can't sit there and say that. That's not fair. So the NFL, and the idea that the NFL now is going to be the connoisseur of the, and they're going to make sure the federal government takes care of the bad actors, then why are they going to Vegas? They're going to Vegas because they had nowhere else to go for the Raiders. That's why they're going to Vegas. They can't go to Oakland because there's no money to build a stadium. The L.A. thing has got the Chargers and the Rams. There's no other place for them to go. What other city? They have hijacked all these cities to build stadiums as it is. Minnesota, obviously the city of Los Angeles. They had to move out of San Francisco to go to Santa Clara, 50 miles away. They're running out of cities that can, basically build a $900 million stadium for these rich owners. So they have nowhere else to go. Vegas will do that for them because Vegas is dying to be on the pro sports map. But I can't listen to the NFL under any circumstances start screaming about the idea that they're looking to protect the fan base. When I read that, I vomit. This is the same NFL that allows their owners, basically communities, to build stadiums for their owners, and then the owners charge PSL seat licenses. Now, it's a shame that the public is so gullible that they go along and go along with that. I mean, so the public doesn't have a right to scream and yell either because they go out there and they allow the NFL to fleece them, including exhibition games. But still, the NFL making fans sit there at midnight in a January day for an NFL Monday night game on ESPN, Patriots and Colts in New England, I can't listen to the NFL. So that's enough of that. That's number two. And number three, listen, I've said this today. I'll say it again. I don't like the idea myself. To me, there is not something that is, you got to earn a championship. You got to earn the right to play for one. And I would say this about any city in its inaugural season. If I was on radio in New York in the night, I don't remember what I said about Jacksonville and Charlotte. Which, by the way, both those cities are not humongous, great NFL towns. Jacksonville, the guy can't wait to get him to London. I mean, so much for the idea that second year meant anything for Jacksonville. Another city that hadn't earned any right to be in a second-year scenario for a championship. But the idea that Vegas, a city that has not earned the right for anything in professional sport, the idea that Vegas got every break known to man by the NHL to build a competitive team, and it's not knocking McPhee. He took advantage of what the NHL gave him, and so he gets all the credit for that, the GM. But I don't like the idea that Las Vegas, a city that has no proof, has no background, has no foundation of being a great sports town, the fact that they now get a chance to root for a title, even if it isn't our fourth sport in America, I think that's a very bad sign. You tell me in 5 years when, they are no longer the novelty act and they have the Columbus Blue Jackets coming in and they have 60 points and they're in 12th place on a March night. You tell me if they're a big deal. You got to go through some of those nights before you get a chance to win a title. Las Vegas did not. 18 after the hour, we continue. Mad Dog on.